Hi everybody, Mrs. Bowen here. We're going to finish up looking at Learning Target 4.3 where we're writing linear equations in multiple forms. And we did some examples looking at point slope form, and we're going to need to use this point slope form in this video as well. Once we have our equations in point slope form, we will work with a familiar form, slope-intercept form. And we've looked at this quite a bit, slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where our m here is our slope and our b here is our y-intercept. So we'll be working with this form. This is the final form that we'll want our equation to be in, but we're going to have to do some work with this point slope form. So on the back side of our notes, it's going to ask us to get our equations in slope-intercept form. So notice these directions say, write the slope-intercept form. And again, here at the bottom, write the slope-intercept form. So you are going to have to get it to be in y equals mx plus b. If you look at example 5, it actually looks the same as the other problems that we were doing when we were writing them in point slope form. So as a reminder for you here at the top of the page, we want our final answer to be in y equals mx plus b, but we worked with another form. And I'll write our point slope form at the top of the page as well. Our point slope form was y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. So that was our point slope form, and we're going to continue using this today. We're actually going to start example 5 off that same exact way. In example 5, we're given a point and we're given a slope. So again, we have an x sub 1, y sub 1, and we also have our slope, which is our m. So we have our three unknowns to plug in. We've got y sub 1, our slope, and our x sub 1. So I can plug those in to my point slope form. So far we're not doing anything different. So I'm doing y minus, my y sub 1 is negative 1, equals my slope, which is negative 2, times x minus, and my x sub 1 is 2. We learned we do have to simplify when we see double negatives. So I can get rid of this minus a negative. So this becomes y plus 1 equals negative 2 times x minus 2. And if the directions ask for this equation in point slope form, we'd be done because we plugged in our three unknowns, we simplified. However, our directions here want our equation in y equals mx plus b, meaning we are going to have to simplify this equation some more. Right away, when I look at this equation, I see parentheses here. I see negative 2 times parentheses. And hopefully by now, you know that when you see a number times parentheses, we can do distributive property. So on the left side of my equal sign, will still have y plus 1. And here I can distribute the negative 2 to both terms or to both parts inside parentheses. So I'll do negative 2 times x to get negative 2x. And I'll do negative 2 times negative 2 to get positive 4. Now I'm getting much closer to this looking like y equals mx plus b, right? I've got an x term and I've got a constant term on the end. The only thing that's in the way is right here, this y plus 1. I need to move this plus 1 to the other side so that I have y by itself. I can move a plus 1 by subtracting 1. So I'll get y equals negative 2x. And notice I can only subtract 1 from the other constant, right? So the negative 2x is a variable term that has to stay negative 2x. But here I can do 4 minus 1 to get 3 because those are constant terms. So now my equation is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where we can see that our slope here is negative 2. Well, would you look at that? Yes, our slope is negative 2. And our y-intercept, which is, notice, different from the y value in this ordered pair, because this ordered pair, this is just some point on the line, whereas our y-intercept is the spot where our line crosses the y-axis. So our m is negative 2, and our y-intercept, or our b, is plus 3. Let's look at example 6. So again, I have a point and I have a slope. So what I'm going to need to do here is first put it into point slope form. So I'll have y minus my y sub 1 is 0 equals my slope of negative 1/3 times x minus, and my x sub 1 is 3. Well, that works out nicely. Y minus 0 is just y. So my y is already by itself there, right? And then right here, again, number times parentheses. I'm doing distributive property. So negative 1/3 times x gives me negative 1/3 x. And then here I'm doing negative 1/3 times negative 3. You can think of this as negative 3/1 if that's helpful, or if you need to use your calculator, that would be fine. But negative 1/3 times negative 3, that turns into +1. So on this one, we actually had one last step to do because we had nothing here. It was just y minus 0. So that just simplifies to y. So our slope was negative 1/3, and you can double check. Yes, we got negative 1/3. And my y-intercept, my b, or where my line will cross the y-axis, is at 1. At this time, you have a U-try, so go ahead, pause the video. On this U-try, I put my equation in point slope form by plugging in the point and the slope. I simplified my minus and negative to be a plus, and then I noticed that I was distributing the number 1, so that was nice. 1 times anything is just itself. And so my last step was to add 1 to both sides in order to get y by itself. So my equation in slope-intercept form is y equals x plus 4. We have one last example, example 7, also wants our equation to be in slope-intercept form. But now we're given 2 points. We're no longer given a point and a slope. And in order to put things into this point slope form that we like to use, we need a point and a slope. However, we do know how to find slope between 2 points. So again, this is x1, y1, x2, y2. And in a previous learning target, we learned how to find slope. I'll write our formula here one more time. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's the formula that I'm using to find my slope. So here I'm doing my y2 is negative 4 minus my y1 is 2 over my change in x's. My x2 is 0 minus my x1 is negative 1. Negative 4 minus 2 gives me negative 6. 0, this really becomes a plus. So 0 plus 1 is 1. And I can simplify that. So the slope that I'm using is negative 6. And then I'm going to pick the first ordered pair. You could pick the second ordered pair if you like, but I'm going to use this point and this slope. So now I'm putting it into point slope form. So y minus my y sub 1 is 2 equals my slope of negative 6 times x minus my x sub 1 is negative 1. I do need to simplify these double negatives. So I have y minus 2 equals negative 6 times x plus 1. This is my equation in point slope form, but I need to get it to be in slope intercept form. So when I have a number times parentheses, I need to distribute that number to both terms or to both parts inside parentheses. So I'll have y minus 2 equals negative 6 times x gives me negative 6x. Negative 6 times 1 gives me negative 6. And the only thing in the way now is this y minus 2. So I can add 2 to both sides, and I'll be left with y equals negative 6x. And negative 6 plus 2 gives me negative 4. So there would be my equation. Y equals negative 6x minus 4. All right, very last U-try, go ahead and pause the video. On our very last U-try, I got a slope of 1/2. I used the first ordered pair, so this was the point and the slope that I used. I first put my equation in point slope form, so right here, this would be the equation in point slope form. But to get it in slope intercept form, I distributed the 1/2, and then I subtracted 4. My final answer was y equals 1/2 x minus 3. And I do want to point out here for these, whether you picked the first point or the second point, you will get the same answer in slope-intercept form. So on this U-try, if you picked this ordered pair, 0, -3, this would have actually been an easier ordered pair to use because you have 0 in it. So if there's one ordered pair that you see that looks like it might be easier to use, feel free to use that. But whichever ordered pair you use, and again, you've got to use the same slope, you will get the same final answer for your slope-intercept form.